everyone, welcome to Wealth Redefined. I'm your host, Michael Reynolds, independent financial advisor and owner of Elevation Financial. Thanks for joining me today. As always, I'm glad you're here every time. For my longtime listeners and new listeners as well, welcome. All right, today we're going to talk about how to get a service business up and running for less than $1,000. I love talking about starting businesses. It is just such a fun thing for me, just such a passion of mine. I love starting businesses. I love seeing people start businesses. I love helping people start businesses. Entrepreneurship is just in my DNA. So I love it, love it, love it. So here's kind of the angle I want to take today. And I've talked about this before, and I think one of my very first episodes, but I want to kind of revisit with some updated information and just some, I guess, updated thoughts and maybe a slightly different take on it. So the reason I want to talk about starting a service business today is I've had a few conversations recently with some people in the families I serve about cash flow and income and financial situation. And, we always talk about, hey, if you want to improve your financial situation, there's two things. There's increase income or cut expenses. That's very simplified. Obviously, there's lots of things you can do, but in general, when you're looking at cash flow, those are kind of the factors. It's money in and money out. And so in your household, if you're looking at money in and money out, and you want to be able to, keep more money and have an improved financial situation when it comes to cash flow, it is usually the first thing we go to is usually cutting expenses. Usually we kind of jump straight to, well, how do I lower my expenses? How do I spend less money going out? And there's nothing wrong with that. It's a great thing to think about that. When you're thinking about cash flow, it is important to lower expenses. That's kind of one of the first things you want to look at and say, well, am I spending too much? Is there too much going out? Is that something I can focus on and get under control more and lower spending? So again, nothing wrong with that. That's a great place to start. But the problem is it's very limited. Generally, what I've found in working with people is that there's only so far you can go cutting expenses. Sometimes there's really nothing else to cut. I mean, it's not like you can, just slash your expenses in half for most people. Realistically, that just doesn't happen. You can maybe, change a few things here and there. And there's two reasons why it's tough to cut expenses. For one thing, again, we need a certain level of expenditure to operate a household, and most people are not dramatically above that. They're pretty much spending what they need to spend. And so there's not a lot of margin to reduce that. And second, it's just psychologically hard to do when you're used to spending a certain amount. It's just very behaviorally difficult to start spending less. It's just very tough to do. So I like looking at the other side of the equation more carefully, and that is increasing income. And none of this is easy, so I'm not trying to make this sound easy by any stretch, but increasing your income, in my opinion, is often a much better way to spend your time and a much better way to focus your energy in order to improve cash flow. That leads me to talk about starting a service business because, in my opinion, one of the best ways to increase your income is to add additional income through starting a business, and specifically a service business. So why a service business? Because it doesn't take that much money to start. Honestly, there's not a lot of upfront expenditure needed to start a small basic service business. There's all sorts of businesses you can start. You can start a product business. You can, manufacture and sell products. You can, do software development and build an app or something. But there are lots of things out there that take a lot of time and money. Anything in software is going to take a lot of time and potentially a lot of money. Anything in product typically is going to have some upfront cost or have a lot of expenses early on when you're selling and dealing with products. So I love small, simple service businesses because, again, you don't really need much money to start. You don't really have overhead. You don't really have inventory. The service you provide is how you make the money. So your inventory is basically your time and expertise, which is something that you don't have to, spend money to keep in inventory. You have the inventory already. You have the time, you have the skills. Obviously, time is limited, but you're not spending money on it. You're starting up with pretty much no upfront cost. So I want to talk today about just the simple logistics of starting a service business for under $1,000. I'm carefully using that number $1,000 because it's a nice round number. And a lot of people say, well, I need money to start a business. Well, no, you really don't need that much. And so I'm using that number to really clearly illustrate that you can literally start a service business for less than $1,000, often far less, depending on the business. So I also want to talk about this because I want to help people get unstuck. So much of the time, I work with people. I have conversations with people who are thinking, okay, great. I want to start a business. I want to launch something new. I want to start a new stream of income. And, I need a business plan and I need 6 months to kind of map it out. And I need all this stuff. And it sounds scary and I need money. And they just get in their own heads so much. And they just end up over analyzing and just getting stuck in all of the what ifs when they could be making money. And so I really want to kind of treat this as talking through the possibility of launching a business and how not how easy but how simple it can actually be. I'm not saying it's easy because it's hard. Starting a business is very hard, but I want to make sure that we can understand the simplicity of it. So I'm going to walk through the basic steps to launching a service business and keeping it well under $1,000 and well under control when it comes to cost. So, first thing, decide what you want to do. This is often the hardest part, but I've offered some help here because I have put together a companion resource in the form of an article on my website with sample business ideas you can kind of reference. I'm calling it my favorite easy to launch service business ideas. So this will be linked from the show notes in this podcast episode. This is episode 137. So if you go to my website, look for episode 137 of this podcast, you'll see the show notes. It'll also show up in the show notes on your podcast app, I believe. And then go to my website and find it there, and it will link to this article on my site, again, which is called My Favorite Easy to Launch Service Business Ideas. So sometimes people just need ideas. They just need, some ideas of what they could do, some examples of service businesses I love that I think would be really easy to start up. Again, I shouldn't say easy, simple to start up and low cost to start up are things like lightweight property management, lawn care, pet daycare, online dating consultant and profile editor. Some interesting things that maybe people don't think about. Private music teacher if you're musically inclined, mobile pet grooming, virtual assistant, bookkeeping, lots of things you can do, even with just a laptop and the internet, or even something more in person that's very low tech. A lot of these businesses they're not super high tech, they're not super advanced, they're not super complex. They're really simple, boring businesses that fill a need. And so reference that article if you would like some ideas on what some potential businesses are out there to start. So decide what you want to do. Next, the next thing you're going to want to do is to set up your business entity and the structure for it. Typically, I'm going to recommend setting up an LLC, which is a limited liability company. It's a very simple structure. It's very common for a small business, and it has some advantages in that it provides some liability protection right off the bat if that is necessary, if that comes up, and adds some legitimacy as well. And it kind of plans for the future because at some point, if this business really takes off and you go somewhere with it, you may want to switch to an S corp tax status, and being an LLC from the start lays a good foundation for making that a smoother transition. Because if you start off with just a sole proprietorship, which is not forming an entity, then there's some switching that may need to happen later, some paperwork, some headaches. So I would say the ideal scenario is that you would start by registering an LLC. You do this by going to your Secretary of State website and looking for the start a business button, or there's usually a button on there that says start a business or form a new business, and you're going to choose the LLC option. Usually it's not very expensive. Now, in some states, like in my state of Indiana, it's $100 to register an LLC online. It's very minimal. In California, however, it's $800, and it's kind of a hassle. So depending on what state you're in, you may hold off on this part. If you're in California and you don't have $800 laying around for that, I get it. You can just start off as a sole proprietor and just, not worry about the LLC part of it. But if you're in a state where it's a pretty reasonable fee, I like starting with an LLC because it kind of establishes your business as an entity from the start with some liability protection, some legitimacy. You have the LLC after the name. It's just a nice, good starting point. So again, you do that by going to your state's website, register the LLC. You're going to choose a name. The first thing you want to do before you actually do the registration is search your state website when you do a business entity search and search for the business name you want to use and see what else comes up. Because if you see that someone else is using your exact name, you're not going to be able to get that name. You also want to do a trademark search with the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office and see if there are any trademarks that match the name you want to use and see if they're in a similar business. So, for example, if you're going to launch a lawn care business, for example, and you see a trademark for a big national lawn care business name, and it's similar to the one you want to use or the same as the one you want to use, you probably don't want to use that because a big national company might come along and notice and sue you for the name, and that could get complicated. So I would say make sure your business is unique enough and it's not, crossing paths with other similar industries with trademark names. Make sure the name's available in your state, and then register the LLC. You don't need a lot to do this. Just kind of follow the prompts, go through the little checklist it walks you through. You don't need to worry so much about a complex operating agreement. If you're just one person, just kind of, omit that if you can and just go for the basics. Then once the LLC is registered, depending on your state, it could take anywhere from 24 hours to a few weeks, depending. Once that is done, you will get what's called an EIN, which is an employer identification number. This is a tax ID for your business. So you can technically operate a sole proprietorship or an LLC using your social security number, but I don't recommend it. I want to make sure that my social security number is kept private, and I use my EIN, which is my business tax ID, for all business dealings. Also, most business bank accounts will require you to have an EIN. So it's just a good thing to have. It is free. To register an EIN, you go to irs.gov/EIN, and that will take you to the place where you can apply for your EIN online. It is free, and it takes about 10 minutes or less. So that is going to be your process for setting up your entity and the tax ID for your business. Next, after this, you will want to get a business bank account. So there are a number of online banks I really like. You can also go to your local bank or credit union. I would recommend making sure you choose a business bank that has no fees. There's no reason to pay fees for business banks. There are plenty out there that are completely free. By the way, this is a good time for me to mention, I don't endorse any particular bank or service or software app I'm going to mention today. I try to steer clear of, officially endorsing anything. So any names I mention are simply for educational purposes to make you aware of them. So if I mention bank names or software names or app names, these are simply because they are commonly used. They're popular. I've had experience with them. They're available for you to do your own research and choose on your own. But these are educational, not endorsements. So there are banks out there. Some that are available at the time of this recording is, Bluevine, Relay. Those are a couple options that are popular. There are other online banks out there. But again, if you like the idea of going to your local bank or credit union, go see if they can offer you a business bank account as well. You want to make sure when you're choosing a business bank account that it has high-tech tools. And one of the most important tools is going to be free ACH payments. ACH is electronic payments, and that allows you to move money from your business bank account to your personal bank account, for example, electronically. The reason that's important is because when it comes time to pay yourself from your business, then that's the easiest way to do it, to being able to pay yourself by moving money from your business to your personal account. So you don't want the headache of writing yourself checks or messing with other ways. Just make sure it's easy to pay yourself. Also, eventually, you may want to set up a 401k plan for your business, and moving money from your business account to your 401k account becomes easier if you could do electronic payments. So there's a lot of advantages. So as you're setting up a business bank account, the two I mentioned have this feature, but make sure that they offer free ACH payments. That's the phrase you want to use. So if you're talking to your local bank, say, hey, I'd like to set up a business bank account. Can you please verify that this account offers free ACH payments for me to pay other people through ACH? And make sure they say yes. So there's your business bank account. It is set up. You now have a bank account ready for your business. Next, you're going to want a way to have an online presence, both with web and email. So the next thing I would do is set up a domain for your business and an email and workspace account. So it's domains. There are lots of registrars you can use out there. A couple that are pretty popular include GoDaddy or Google Domains. You can set up a domain for $12 a year typically is the cost, and you'll register a domain name that is relevant for your business. Try to get the .com if you can. There are some suffixes that are good to use and pretty popular. Some that are not so great. They look kind of spammy sometimes. So I would try to get the .com of your domain. Avoid dashes in the domain. A .co domain can sometimes work well. I would avoid .us. I would avoid .biz. They can sometimes be seen as spammy. There are other variations as well, but try to get a .com. If not, maybe get a .co. I've seen that be somewhat popular. So also avoid the dash in the domain, avoid hyphens, and don't worry so much about a domain that has keywords in it for search engine optimization. That doesn't really matter as much anymore. So choose a domain that is as short as possible, that's relevant, that's simple, that's easy to remember, that's just a good domain for your business name. Then get your email set up. I personally use Google Workspace. Google Workspace is used by a lot of other businesses as well. I believe at the time of this recording, it's $6 per month per email box. So you should be able to start up at $6 a month is going to be your general monthly cost for your email account, which gives you calendaring and drive space and all the good stuff. There's also a 30-day trial, so you can have a 30-day free runway to start with without paying anything. And that's a great way to get started for free using your email without paying anything for that first month. So that'll be your next step. Next, get a logo. There's a few basic marketing stuff or marketing things that, in my opinion, you need to have before you're really up and running. One of those things is a logo. You can spend a lot for a logo, or you can get one for free. Now, I have been and still am somewhat in the marketing community. I owned a marketing agency for 23 years. I spent a lot of time in marketing and design, and I'm a big fan of great design. So I am not at all saying the logo is unimportant, but at this stage in your business, don't overthink it. There are services like Canva, or Adobe has a free logo maker. Canva is probably a great source to look at because they have a free logo designer you can use with templates and kind of customize, and you can get a free logo very quickly that is good enough. The theme that I want to really emphasize here is be okay for now with good enough. Good enough is what you need at this exact moment to get up and running, to make money, and to start growing your business and to move forward. So this is not necessarily going to be the logo you stick with for 10 years. It might be, but you might stick with it for a year or two, and then you might get it professionally designed later when you want a refreshed version or a redesigned logo. So get a logo that is simple, that is basic, that is what you need to get started. And again, there are some great free options for that. Again, Canva has a great free logo maker. I think Adobe has one as well. You can also pay, $500 to $800 for a service like 99 Designs to do it. So if you do have the money and you want to get a professionally designed logo, 99 Designs can be a good option as well, or services that are similar to that. Again, I'm not discounting the skill that goes into a great logo, but good enough is our theme for right now. Next, get a website. Also, in the same theme of good enough, your website just needs to be good enough. There are plenty of DIY services like Squarespace, Weebly, Wix, lots of services out there that let you get a website up and running very quickly by just choosing a theme, plugging in some basic content, putting a few pages together, and applying your domain to it. And suddenly you've got a website that's up and running. Is it going to be the best site in the world? No. Is it going to be the one you have for 10 years? No. But it's going to be enough to give you credibility online, something to share and to give to people, something to describe your basic services, and a way for people to contact you. And that's what you want. So your logo is going to be on your website, your basic content, keep it very simple. And again, I would use these simple services. Some of them even have free options. Do a free trial for 30 days and, maybe consider upgrading for like the $10 or $20 a month you need to make sure the service logo is not in there. There's no watermark on it. It looks really customized for you. So, your mileage may vary, but it'll be free or cheap to get your website up and running. Next, you are now pretty much online with a presence. You're established. You have legitimacy. you're technically ready to start doing business. So you need a way to invoice people and take payments. Bookkeeping is not super important at this stage. It'll become more important shortly, but really you just need a way to take money and to invoice people. So there are a couple of services that are great for this, actually more than a couple. There's, QuickBooks Online, there's FreshBooks, there's Wave. The one you're probably going to gravitate toward is Wave. Again, I'm not endorsing it specifically, but Wave is very popular for a lot of new business owners because it is free and it lets you take online payments as well. Now, they do take a percentage of online payments, but you just need to let that go. A lot of times I see business owners get really hung up on the fact that, the provider they're using takes, 2 or 3% from every credit card transaction. That's normal. That's a cost of doing business. Get over it. It's okay. Just let it go. Don't let it bother you. That's very normal. It's a small price to pay for the convenience of taking credit card payments and making the payment process really smooth. So Wave is probably going to be your best bet. So you set up a free Wave account, won't cost you a thing. Set up your business, and then apply for online payments, link it up to your bank account, and now you're ready to take payments. So you can start providing service. You can, let's say you're, a virtual assistant. Okay, maybe you're gonna bill hourly. So great. Use a Harvest account or some kind of time tracker. Uh, you know, let that do your, apply to your invoicing. Decide how much you're going to charge per hour, and then do a little bit of work for somebody. And then at the end of the month, you invoice them using Wave or whatever tool you're using, and send the invoice out via email. And they can pay online using credit card, and it's super smooth. The money gets dumped into your business bank account a few days later, and you're in business. So you now are up and running. You have the ability to take payments. And like I said, you're making money, you're making revenue. You may or may not need to invest some seed money into your business bank account. You may not need to if you're pretty much getting clients pretty quickly. So again, if you're like a virtual assistant as your business and you've already got a couple of people saying, "Yeah, I'd like to hire you. I need some help right now." Like, great. You're making money right now in that 30-day window before those trial periods run out for things like Google Workspace, et cetera. You might make enough to just go ahead and start building your business bank account immediately, which means you won't need to invest your own money into it. Maybe it takes a little bit longer. Maybe you need a little more time. So you might need to throw $100 or $200 into your business bank account as what's called a capital contribution to your business. That's very normal. So, invest that if you need to kind of get the ball rolling. But the goal here is to spend very little money up front and to get cash in quickly, to get money coming in as soon as possible. A few things you might also think about if you want to add a little more infrastructure to your business. You might want to open a virtual mailbox. If you really want to make sure you protect your home address, and if you do have a need to receive mail through your business, then virtual mailboxes are, $10, $20 a month. And it gives you an address where people can mail things, and the service will scan the mail for you, and you can download them as PDFs online, or they can forward mail. So a virtual mailbox could be useful if you do need to receive mail. If your business is pretty high tech and virtual, it may not need that, but it's a consideration. A phone line, you might also want a phone line. So if you want to keep your business or your personal cell phone separate from your business activities, there are services like Google Voice, Open Phone, Sideline, plenty of services that range from, $10 to $15 a month that give you a business phone number that gives you credibility and legitimacy and lets you take calls from your business number. So that might be something you may want to think about. So, as far as running the business, depending on the type of business, you may or may not have needs for things like, tracking data, project management, et cetera. Honestly, Google Workspace, which you've already signed up for at this point, has Google Documents, Google Spreadsheets. You can start tracking information, right there with Google Documents and Spreadsheets. Um, Obviously, you're eventually going to upgrade to things later when you have more clients, but for now, it's a great way to start. Track put all your clients in a spreadsheet, track anything you want to there, put your checklists and documents together in Google Docs, basic stuff. So there are plenty of free tools also, like Asana is a free project management tool. HubSpot has a free CRM, which is a customer relationship manager for contacts. There's plenty of stuff you can get for free as you grow a little bit. But again, keep it simple. Go for good enough at this point. So that's kind of the walkthrough of getting a small, simple service business up and running for as little money as possible. So I'm going to review, decide what you want to do, choose your business name, get your LLC and EIN set up, get your business bank account set up your domain and your Google Workspace account or whatever email service provider you're going to use, get a logo put together, get your website set up, open a accounting program like Wave so you can invoice and take payments, and you're up and running. You're able to take money and make revenue and run your business. So a couple other notes to go with it. I've mentioned this before more than once, but I want to reemphasize it yet again. Simplicity is your friend. Don't try to do everything all at once. So let's say you're going to start a lightweight property management business where you're just kind of monitoring homes, checking on them, coordinating service providers, stuff like that. Maybe you have a vision to say, well, I'm going to do, the lightweight property management. I'm going to do like home services. I'm going to do all this other stuff. Keep it simple. Keep your services limited to, hey, I'm going to check on your home twice a week. I'm going to, make sure your plants aren't dying. I'm going to coordinate the plumber when your renters need someone. And that's kind of the service I provide. Or, I'm going to exclusively focus on vacation rentals. I'm going to, go by once a week and make sure things are clean and up to date. I'm going to, take care of the basic property stuff, stuff like that. So keep it really simple. Or if you're doing a VA business, for example, like let's say you could do lots of things. You could do, bookkeeping and design and also, all sorts of things. But let's say you want to keep it simple. Say, hey, you know what, as a VA, I'm going to focus on scheduling and, managing your email and a few basic things, and then kind of expand as you get deeper and deeper into the business. You want to keep it very simple so you get very good at what you're doing before you expand into more services. That's very important because I've seen a lot of business owners try and do too much too early, and they end up just getting bogged down in all the minutia of managing the business because they tried to bite off more than they could chew when they were ready for. So keep it simple. Also, think of niching. When you're starting out, go ahead and take business from anywhere you get it. But pretty quickly, it's useful to start deciding if you have a specialization. So if you're, again, going back to the VA example, if you're a virtual assistant, maybe you're a VA specifically for, I don't know, financial advisors. Something pops into my head very easily. Or maybe you're a VA specifically for accountants or specifically for attorneys or specifically for, a certain type of professional. If you are, a career coach or a resume editor, maybe you are in a specific type of career. Maybe you're a career coach specifically for engineers or something. So something that relates to an expertise you have. So think about niching because that can grow your business faster than anything because you get really well known in the space, you get really good at it, and you can really accelerate your growth by focusing on a niche. So I really hope this has been helpful in thinking through how simple, again, not easy, but simple it can be to start a small service business, either as a side hustle, like a side project, or eventually becoming your full-time gig. It depends on, obviously your goals and where it goes. But again, I love service businesses because they take almost no overhead to start, no upfront cost, or very minimal upfront cost. And you can start providing service from day one. You don't need product, you don't need inventory, you don't need an office. You can simply start providing a service immediately. And that's a great way to start making money quickly and therefore increasing your income and your cash flow very quickly. So again, don't forget, if you're looking for ideas, in this episode, which is 137, there will be a link to the article on my website, which has a list of my favorite easy to launch service businesses. And you can kind of go through there and get some ideas if you're stuck. And as always, I'm happy to chat about this if you go further. If you're a client, definitely talk to me about starting a business. And if you're not a client of mine, still reach out anyway. I'm happy to always have at least one conversation just to kind of walk through concepts with you if that would be helpful. So with that, as always, I appreciate you being a listener. And I wouldn't mind reviews as well. I love reviews on Apple Podcasts. So if you have a minute and you want to go do a rating and a review, I would love that. And share it with a friend as well. And if you'd like to chat, definitely reach out on my website, which is elevationfinancial.com. Click the button for a complimentary money session and schedule something online. All right, with that, thanks for listening as always. Have a great day. See you next time.